Hi, this is Erin Bates. I am a Master of Public Health candidate at Liberty University, and I just completed my practicum and would like to share a little bit about that program and that experience. I'd like to take a reflective approach to do so today. So we'll be looking at community health workers in rural Honduras and the partnership that I had with this practicum through international help. So let's dive right in. On the first main slide here, you will see a practicum overview. So basically, I'd like to take a little bit of time to dive into the partnership that occurred with international help, the location, the lessons I learned, things that I might have done differently through the program, key takeaways, some challenges that were maybe unanticipated, and what I gained from the hands-on experience overall. So as you can see on this first slide, a little bit about international help and the partnership. This program occurs in Yoro Department of Honduras, and while my practicum was entirely remote, the international help program will be taking further training to this location called Nueva Esperanza, which is an existing medical clinic in the northwestern area of Honduras. It's a very mountainous region, and this training is going to occur around July or August of this year. During that training, we are expecting 23 community health workers who have already been identified to encounter this training, and it's over the course of about 5 days. So during my practicum itself, I researched health problems and I developed training materials in order to set up international help and their team members for this upcoming training. So let's look a little bit more into the actual partnership with international help. What does that look like? So this organization, you can see the mission statement here. It's a nonprofit that seeks to end preventable diseases in underprivileged areas globally through educating and empowering local people to be healthcare leaders. The goal of this is that these leaders will have a positive impact to change the course of the communities that they're working with, and that they're empowered to have a sustainable training program. So international help has actually partnered with many other areas globally, including an organization in Syria that they are currently doing virtual training for community health workers, locations in Uganda, Guyana, various locations across the globe. So other similar training programs include the Missionary Air Group and Jóvenes en Camino, specifically in remote Honduras. So those are the programs that were most similar to the practicum that I was working with. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit about the accomplishments that I was able to work with in terms of the practicum itself. So I mainly focused on two components: the assessment phase and the training phase. You'll see a little bit about the annotated bibliography. I also developed a country profile, did the SWOT analysis, things like that. The health report compiled a lot of information about specific health priorities that are a current problem in Honduras, especially rural northwestern Honduras. So these things included topics such as interpersonal violence and trauma, mental health, healthcare for children under the age of 5, maternal and fetal health, things like that. And those were all research and evidence-based public health concerns in this area of Honduras. So given that knowledge, we were able to continue to the training phase. The training plan outlines reflected this information that was gained from the evidence-based research, and lesson plans were developed. Training handouts were organized in a fashion that, again, reflected the importance of certain priorities, of health priorities in the communities, and hands-on training scenarios were developed. Each of these training phase components also reflected on the community surveys and key informant surveys that occurred in order to better understand culturally appropriate and important topics to the area. I also worked a little bit with logistics, budgeting, things like that, and developed my own unique first aid flip chart that the community health workers will be able to utilize in order to train community members in first aid response, things like CPR, managing burns and infections, things like that, as well as providing some guidance on when further medical attention is necessary. So some of the challenges and recommendations that I have, things that I may have done a little bit differently, key takeaways include the importance of flexibility when working in public health and in general, but especially in developing nations. So for instance, I mentioned that we were hoping to be able to take a trip earlier. I was hoping to be able to be a part of that. And unfortunately, just timing with working with the Ministry of Health in Honduras and Lesvia, the point of contact in the Nueva Esperanza clinic, things just didn't time out for us to be able to travel in March or April, which was the original time frame that was desired by international help. So I think the important component here to realize is that there's necessary flexibility, that you're working with other individuals that are trying to develop and be empowered by these programs. And so to come in and just say, this is what we're doing is not going to be the most beneficial approach to those communities and those community members. So it's important to remember the importance of flexibility in working alongside these partners in order to gain a more comprehensive and culturally sensitive approach to public health. The other challenge and thing that I may have done a little bit differently would be earlier discussion of expectations and desires. I mentioned that I was able to create that flip chart, but a lot of the other work that I developed with the annotated bibliography, impact studies, things like that, already either had a template that I kind of took off of, or already, the logic model was already in process because the trip was to be happening very soon. So the first aid flip chart was actually the best component that I was able to say, hey, this is my work. And I think that was really exciting for me because it gave me a little bit better understanding of what that public health component can look like and how to develop those things from scratch. So a little bit more about personal reflection. I would love to spend some time doing some continued involvement with these public health programs. I think it's important to understand how public health work can benefit not only the individuals in the area, but be a sustainable program for us. So gaining hands-on experience in these regards is something that I really value and I really appreciate about the practicum, that it encouraged me to spend some time really partnering with these individuals and getting to know, points of contact in Honduras specifically, which is a place that I adore. So all in all, I would just like to take a minute to say thank you to not only my preceptor and colleague, Amber, that works with International Help, and wish them well for their upcoming travels. But I'd also like to thank Dr. Mitchum for her assistance and guidance throughout this semester. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for your time.